Close your eyes now and let yourself drift toward the edge of a quiet shore. The day is drawing to its gentle close, and the sky above the water holds the softest colors, pale lavender and rose gold, like watercolor paint brushed across silk. Here, where the land meets the sea, time moves differently. The waves arrive and retreat in their ancient rhythm, each one carrying away whatever weight you've been holding. Breathe slowly. Feel the salt-touched air fill your lungs, carrying with it the peace of endless horizons. There is a small cottage here, weathered by years of sea spray, but sturdy and warm. Its walls are the color of driftwood, silvered by salt and sun, and his single window glows amber in the gathering dusk. Smoke rises straight and thin from the chimney, disappearing into the deepening sky like a whispered prayer. This is home to a fisherman and his wife, two souls who have learned to find richness in simplicity. The cottage sits on a gentle rise of sandy earth, protected from the highest tides by a natural barrier of smooth stones worn round by countless storms. Wild grasses grow in tufts around its foundation, their pale green fronds moving in the constant sea breeze, like dancers swaying to music only they can hear. A small garden flourishes beside the front door, where hardy plants adapted to salt air bloom in colors that echo the sunset sky. Purple sea lavender, white peach roses, golden samphire that releases its peppery scent into the evening air. The fisherman sits on a wooden stool outside the cottage door, his hands moving with practiced ease as he mends a net. The rope is soft between his fingers, worn smooth by countless days on the water. Each knot he ties is a meditation, each loop a small act of care. His movements are unhurried, following the same gentle rhythm as the waves that kiss the shore just steps away. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the earth holding you as you listen to the soft whisper of the tide. His weathered face shows the lines of a man who has spent his life squinting into sun and salt spray, but his eyes hold the deep peace of someone who has found his proper place in the world. His clothes are simple, linen shirt faded to the color of seafoam, trousers patched with care, boots that have walked countless miles of sandy shore. Everything about him speaks of a life lived in harmony with the elements, accepting what each day brings with the patience of one who understands that the sea gives its gifts according to its own wisdom. His wife moves quietly inside the cottage, her footsteps light on the wooden floor. She tends a small fire in the hearth, adjusting the logs so the flames dance steady and low. The light flickers across her face, painting her features in warm gold. She is preparing their evening meal, simple bread, fish caught fresh that morning, herbs grown in their tiny garden where salt-tolerant plants bloom purple and white. Her movements carry the grace of someone who has transformed necessity into art, who finds beauty in the simplest tasks. She chooses each ingredient as if selecting jewels, handling the bread she baked that morning with the same reverence a sculptor might show for precious marble. The wooden bowls she sets on their small table have been worn smooth by years of use, their surfaces glowing like satin in the firelight. Listen to the hush of the tide. Each wave carries away your worries, leaving only calm behind. The cottage is small, but perfect for two. Every corner holds something useful and cherished. Shells arranged on the windowsill to catch the last light, dried seaweed hanging in bundles for soup, a collection of smooth stones gathered from morning walks. Nothing here is grand, but everything serves a purpose, and everything is touched with the quiet beauty that comes from being truly appreciated. The main room serves as kitchen, dining area, and sitting room, its low ceiling supported by beams carved from driftwood, collected after winter storms. The walls are lined with shelves that hold the necessities and treasures of their simple life. Clay pots for storing grain, copper kettles blackened by years of use, books with pages soft as fabric from the salt air, photographs of friends and family whose faces glow in sepia, tones that match the cottage's golden light. A small alcove near the window holds the fisherman's special, treasures, compass, and charts wrapped in oiled cloth, a pipe carved from whalebone, a collection of fishing lures, each designed for particular conditions of wind and tide. These tools speak of expertise earned through decades of patient observation, of a man who has learned to read the sea's moods as clearly as others read printed words. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let the lighthouse beam carry your thoughts toward rest. Outside, the fisherman's boat rests on the sand, pulled up beyond the reach of high water. It is painted blue like the deep sea, though the color has faded to a softer shade, like blue seen through morning mist. The oars lie crossed in the bottom, ready for tomorrow's journey. Nearby, other boats rest in similar quiet, the whole village settling into the peaceful rhythm of evening. The boat shows signs of careful maintenance and loving use. Its hull bears the honorable scars of service, scratches from being pulled across pebbled beaches, worn spots where ropes have rubbed, patches where careful hands have repaired damage from unexpected encounters with hidden rocks or floating debris. But every scar has been tended, every weakness reinforced, until the vessel has become more beautiful in its weathered maturity than it ever was when new. Coils of rope lie neatly arranged in the boat's bottom, each length spliced and knotted with the precision that marks a true craftsman. Wooden floats bob like corks along the net's edge, carved and shaped by the fisherman's own hands during long winter evenings when storms kept him ashore. The boat's name, painted in simple letters on the stern, speaks of hope and gratitude. Faithful provider. The lighthouse on the distant point begins its nightly watch, its beam sweeping slowly across the water. 1, 2, 3. The light passes, then returns, steady as a heartbeat, reliable as the tide. It reminds all who see it that even in darkness, there are guides to lead us safely home. The lighthouse stands on a rocky promontory that juts into the sea, like a stone finger pointing toward infinity. Its white tower rises from foundations so old that no one remembers exactly when they were laid, built by hands that understood the eternal necessity of light in darkness, guidance in uncertainty. The beacon that crowns the tower has been tended by generations of keepers, each one adding their own care to the sacred trust of maintaining its flame. Rest in the rhythm of your breath, in and out, like the tide that knows no hurry. The fisherman sets down his net and stretches, rolling his shoulders back with a soft sigh of satisfaction. His work for the day is done, the boat secured, the catch sold at market, the nets ready for tomorrow. He stands and looks out over the water, watching the last light fade from the horizon. The sea is calm tonight, barely ruffling the surface, like a vast mirror reflecting the first shy stars. As he watches, a seal surfaces far from shore, its whiskered face curious and unafraid. The creature regards the peaceful scene for a moment before disappearing again, beneath the darkening water, leaving only gentle ripples to mark its passage. The fisherman smiles at this brief encounter, understanding it as a blessing from the sea itself, a reminder that he shares these waters with countless other lives, all following their own ancient rhythms of survival and celebration. The evening air carries the scents that mark the boundary between land and sea, salt and seaweed, of course, but also the green smell of marsh grass, the sweetness of sea roses, the clean sharpness of wind that has traveled vast distances over open water. These fragrances blend into a perfume more precious than any created in distant cities, a natural incense that speaks of wild places and untamed beauty. His wife appears in the doorway, wiping her hands on her apron. "Come in when you're ready," she says softly. "The soup is warm." Her voice carries the contentment of someone who has everything she needs within these weathered walls. The fisherman nods and takes one more long look at the sea, breathing in the salt air that has been his companion for so many years. Her apron, like everything else in their cottage, shows the gentle wear of faithful service, made from cloth woven in the village, dyed with colors extracted from local plants. It has faded to soft hues that seem to glow in the cottage's amber light. The herbs she has been handling have left their fragrances in the fabric: rosemary and thyme, sage and lavender, creating a scent that speaks of abundance drawn from simple earth. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself becoming part of this generous spirit, this understanding that wealth increases when it flows freely between open hands. Inside the cottage, the table is set with 2 wooden bowls, 2 spoons carved from driftwood, and a small loaf of bread still warm from the oven. The fisherman and his wife sit across from each other, their faces lit by the gentle glow of an oil lamp. They eat slowly, savoring not just the food, but the quiet companionship, the sound of the fire crackling softly, the distant murmur of waves against sand. The soup steams in their bowls, releasing vapors that speak of the sea's generosity: fish and seaweed, onions grown in sandy soil, herbs that thrive despite salt spray. Each spoonful carries the taste of their life together, the flavor of shared labor and shared love. The bread, torn rather than cut, reveals the texture that comes from grain mixed with patience and kneaded with grateful hands. Between them, a small vase holds flowers gathered from their garden, nothing exotic or rare, just the humble blooms that flourish in their harsh but beautiful environment. Sea pink and thrift, their purple and white petals already beginning to curl in the cottage's warm air, but still beautiful, still fragrant with the memory of sunshine and salt spray. Through the window, the moon begins to rise, sending a silver path across the water. The path seems to lead directly to their cottage, as if the moon itself is extending an invitation to dream. The fisherman reaches across the table and takes his wife's hand. Her skin is warm, her touch familiar and comforting. They need no words. The peace between them speaks of years spent building something beautiful together, something that cannot be measured in coins or possessions. Float like a leaf on calm water. Feel yourself becoming part of this gentle evening, part of this settled peace. The moonlight streaming through their small window creates patterns on the cottage walls that shift and change as clouds pass overhead. Sometimes the light is direct and bright, illuminating every corner of their small home. Sometimes it is filtered and soft, creating shadows that dance like living things. But always it is beautiful. Always it connects their simple dwelling to the vast cosmos that wheels overhead in its eternal dance of light and darkness. The wind picks up just enough to make the cottage timber creak softly, a sound as comforting as a lullaby. Outside, the fishing nets sway slightly where they hang on wooden posts, their shadows dancing across the moonlit sand. A gull calls once from far away, then settles into sleep. Even the village dogs have found their beds, their day's work of chasing waves and inspecting tide pools complete. These sounds of the settling night create a symphony of peace that speaks of a world at rest, of creatures and humans alike finding their proper places in the great pattern of day and night, work and rest, effort and ease. The cottage seems to nestle deeper into its foundation, as if the building itself is preparing for sleep, gathering its weathered walls around the warmth and love that dwell within. The fisherman's wife clears the bowls and sets them in a basin of warm water to soak. She moves without haste, her gestures fluid and practiced. This routine has been repeated countless times, yet it never feels stale or burdensome. There is beauty in the predictable rhythm, comfort in knowing exactly how the evening will unfold. Each bowl receives the same careful attention. Each spoon is cleaned with the same gentle thoroughness. The water in the basin grows cloudy with the remnants of their meal. But even this speaks of abundance, enough food to share, enough warmth to waste a little, enough time to do each task with full attention, rather than hurried efficiency. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself be carried by the gentle current of this story. The fisherman banks the fire, arranging the logs so they will burn slowly through the night, keeping the cottage warm but not too bright. He checks the window latch and makes sure the door is secure, not from fear, but from the simple human desire to create a safe harbor against the night. The door, like everything else in the cottage, has been crafted with love and attention to detail. Its wooden panels have weathered to a silver gray that seems to glow in the moonlight, and its brass latch has been polished smooth by countless hands. The key that secures it is large and old-fashioned, heavy in the hand, reassuring in its solid presence. The fire settles into its banking with small pops and hisses that speak of dry wood giving up its stored sunshine to warm their cottage through the dark hours. The logs he has chosen will burn slowly and steadily, providing just enough heat to keep the chill at bay, without creating the bright flames that might disturb peaceful sleep. They prepare for bed without rushing, taking time to appreciate the lamplight on the wooden walls, the soft blankets that will soon cradle them in warmth. The fisherman's wife brushes her hair by the window, watching the moon path on the water grow brighter as full darkness settles over the sea. Her husband winds the small clock on the mantel, its steady tick joining the other quiet sounds of night. Her hairbrush, carved from driftwood by her husband's patient hands, moves through silver strands that catch the lamplight. Like spun silk, each stroke is both practical and meditative, a daily ritual that connects her to countless other women who have performed the same simple act in preparation for sleep. The brush itself seems to glow in the warm light, its surface polished smooth by years of faithful use. The clock on the mantel is simple but beautiful, its wooden case crafted by the village carpenter from wood that once grew inland, but has been seasoned by salt air until it has taken on the gray-gold color of driftwood. Its pendulum swings with hypnotic regularity, marking time not as something to be conquered, but as something to be honored, something that flows like the tide in patterns larger than any human urgency. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself understanding that contentment comes not from controlling outcomes, but from appreciating process. Their bed is simple but comfortable, piled high with quilts sewn from fabric traded for fish at the village market. The mattress is stuffed with seaweed that rustles softly when they move, a sound that connects them even in sleep to the rhythm of the waves. The fisherman's wife lies on her side, facing the window where she can see the lighthouse beam sweep past every few minutes. Her husband settles beside her, his breathing already deepening toward sleep. The quilts that cover them tell stories in their patterns, squares cut from dresses worn to village celebrations, triangles pieced from shirts that clothe them through seasons of work and rest, borders sewn from fabric that once covered their windows or wrapped their gifts. Each piece carries memories. Each pattern speaks of abundance found in careful preservation and creative reuse. The bed frame itself was built by the fishermen during their first winter together, crafted from driftwood that the sea had shaped into curves that seemed to cradle rather than merely support. The wood has darkened with age and absorbed the fragrances of their life together, salt air and lavender, wood smoke and beeswax, all the scents that make a house a home. But before they surrender to dreams, they lie quietly together, listening to the night sounds of their seaside world. The waves continue their ancient conversation with the shore. The cottage settles into itself with tiny creaks and sighs. Somewhere in the distance, another fisherman calls goodnight to his neighbor, the voice carrying clear across the still air. These sounds create a lullaby more soothing than any human composition, a natural symphony that speaks of community and solitude perfectly balanced, of human lives woven into the larger pattern of sea and sky and wind. The cottage holds them safe within its weathered walls while connecting them through every sound and scent to the vast world that surrounds their small haven. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let it remind you that the most powerful magic is often the most invisible. The most transformative gifts, often the ones that feel like natural grace. The fisherman's wife feels her husband's hand find hers beneath the quilts, their fingers intertwine without thought, a gesture as natural as breathing. Tomorrow will bring its own gifts and challenges, the sea to be sailed, the nets to be cast, the simple tasks of daily life to be completed with care. But tonight there is only this, the warmth of shared love, the security of home, the endless patience of the sea keeping its vigil beyond their door. Their joined hands rest on the quilt between them, a connection that speaks of all the years they have faced life's joys and sorrows together, all the nights they have fallen asleep in this same bed, with the same trust in each other and in the world that has given them so much. Their wedding rings, simple bands of gold worn thin by years of honest work, catch the faint glow from the banked fire and seem to pulse with gentle light. The lighthouse beam passes the window again, painting the walls with moving silver. In its light, the shells on the windowsill seem to glow with their own inner radiance, each one a small treasure gathered from walks along the shore. The fisherman's wife closes her eyes and feels herself beginning to drift, carried toward sleep on the gentle current of contentment that fills their small cottage like moonlight fills thee. Just see. This is how every night ends in the cottage by the shore, with gratitude for the day's simple gifts, with trust in tomorrow's gentle promises, with hearts full of the quiet joy that comes from knowing that home is not a place but a feeling, and that feeling surrounds them now like the endless embrace of the patient sea. Feel yourself drifting, carried toward sleep on the same peaceful current that holds this cottage safe in its circle of gentle light. The fisherman wakes before dawn, as he has for countless mornings, not to the harsh jangle of an alarm, but to the subtle shift in the sea's rhythm that tells him the tide is turning. His wife still sleeps beside him, her breathing soft and even, her face peaceful in the gray pre-dawn light. He slips from beneath the warm quilts carefully, his movements practiced and quiet, and dresses in clothes that smell faintly of salt and sun. The cottage in these early hours holds a special kind of peace, as if the building itself is still dreaming. Shadows pool in corners where the banked fire's glow cannot reach, and every sound seems muffled by the thick walls and the layers of accumulated contentment that fill the rooms like invisible incense. The fisherman moves through this hushed space with the reverence of one entering a sacred place. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself waking gently to this new day, unhurried and at peace. He steps outside into air so crisp and clean it seems to sparkle in his lungs. The world is painted in shades of pearl and silver, the sea stretching endlessly toward a horizon where stars are just beginning to fade. The village sleeps around him. Cottage is dark except for the occasional window where another early riser tends to morning tasks or sits quietly, watching the darkness give way to light. The sand beneath his feet is cool and firm, marked only by the delicate tracks of night creatures, crabs that scuttled between tide pools, birds that searched for treasures left by the retreating water, perhaps a seal that hauled itself briefly onto shore before returning to the depths. These signs speak of the rich life that continues even when humans sleep, of the endless activity that marks the boundary between land and sea. The fisherman walks across the damp sand to where his boat waits, its blue hull dark against the pale shore. He runs his hands along its weathered sides, checking for any damage from yesterday's journey, finding only the honest wear of faithful service. The wood is smooth under his palms, worn by years of salt water and sun into a texture that seems almost alive, responsive to his touch. The boat rocks slightly as he prepares it for launch, settling deeper into the sand that cradles its hull. He checks the oars, running his fingers along their length to ensure they are sound, testing the leather at the blade attachments where stress concentrates during long days of rowing. Everything receives the same careful attention, the same wordless blessing of competent hands, ensuring that tools will serve faithfully. Let your shoulders drop. Feel yourself becoming part of this ancient rhythm, this timeless dance between land and sea. The morning air is cool and clean, carrying the scent of seaweed and salt spray. A few early gulls pick their way along the tide line, their feet leaving delicate prints in the wet sand. The lighthouse beam still sweeps its patient circle, though its light grows paler as dawn approaches. The fisherman pauses to watch it complete one full rotation, a ritual that connects him to all the other fishermen who have stood on this shore before him, watching the same reliable beacon. These gulls move with the focused attention of creatures who understand that early hours often bring the richest opportunities. They probe the sand with bills designed by millions of years of evolution for exactly this purpose, finding treasures invisible to human eyes, tiny crabs, marine worms, fragments of fish that escaped yesterday's nets. Their presence blesses the morning with life and movement, with the reminder that he shares this coastline with countless other beings, all following their own ancient patterns of survival and celebration. The lighthouse keeper, unseen but faithful in his tower, tends the beacon that has guided ships safely home for more than a century. The fisherman raises his hand in silent salute toward the distant tower, honoring the dedication of the man who maintains this essential service. In a few more hours, when full daylight makes the beacon unnecessary, the keeper will extinguish the great lens and rest. But his vigilance connects every dawn to every dusk in an unbroken chain of service. He drags his boat toward the water, the wooden hull making a soft shushing sound as it slides across the sand. The effort warms his muscles and fills his lungs with the crisp morning air. When the bow touches the gentle waves, he loads his nets, his lunch wrapped in brown paper, and a small jug of fresh water. Everything has its place in the boat, arranged with the precision that comes from years of practice. The nets settle into their designated space with the whisper of rope against wood. Their cork floats bobbing gently as the boat rocks in the shallow water. These nets represent hours of careful work, splicing torn sections, replacing worn sections, adjusting the lead weights that ensure proper draping in the water. Each repair carries the fisherman's attention and care, his understanding that tools maintained with love serve faithfully when their service is most needed. His lunch, wrapped in brown paper that has been used and reused until it is soft as fabric, contains simple fare that will taste like feast when eaten on peaceful water. Bread baked by his wife's patient hands, dried fish from previous catches, perhaps an apple from the tree that grows in their neighbor's garden, its branches bent by constant wind into shapes that mirror the coast's own weathered beauty. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let the gentle motion of the boat rock you deeper into peace. The oars slip into the water with barely a splash. Each stroke is smooth and unhurried, propelling the boat steadily away from shore. The fisherman settles into the rhythm that will carry him through the morning. Pull, lift, reach, pull, his body moving in harmony with the boat and the sea beneath it. Behind him, the cottage grows smaller, but the smoke from its chimney still rises straight and true, a sign that his wife has woken and is preparing breakfast for his return. The rhythm of rowing becomes a meditation, each stroke a prayer offered to the sea that sustains them. The oars themselves have been shaped by the fisherman's own hands, carved from ash wood that combines strength with flexibility, sanded smooth and treated with oil until they gleam like polished bone. They move through the water with the efficiency that comes from perfect balance, from tools designed specifically for their task, by hands that understand their work. As the cottage recedes, other details of the village become visible. Wisps of smoke rising from early fires, the bell tower of the small church catching the first rays of sun, boats pulled up on beaches like sleeping seals waiting for their owners to wake. This is the world he protects by his careful fishing, the community sustained by the sea's generosity and human wisdom working together. As the sun breaks free of the horizon, it paints the water in strokes of gold and rose. The fisherman stops rowing for a moment to watch the light spread across the surface, creating a path that seems to lead from his boat straight to the heart of the new day. This is a sight he has witnessed thousands of times, yet it never fails to fill him with quiet wonder. Each sunrise is both familiar and unique, like an old song sung with a new understanding. The sun rises with the stately majesty of a celestial ceremony, transforming the gray world into a canvas of unimaginable beauty. Colors shift and flow across the water's surface, pink deepening to rose, gold brightening to yellow, silver paths dancing between them like roads made of light. The fisherman's boat seems to sail through liquid beauty, supported not just by water, but by wonder itself. This daily miracle never grows old because it speaks to something eternal in the human heart, something that recognizes beauty as a fundamental force rather than mere decoration. The fisherman's weathered hands rest quietly on the oars as he allows himself to receive this gift, this daily reminder that he lives in a world where magic is as common as breathing, as reliable as the tide. Rest in the rhythm of your breath, in and out, matching the gentle rise and fall of the boat on the swells. He rows to his favorite fishing spot, a place where the water runs deep and clear, marked in his memory by the alignment of distant landmarks. The church spire in the village, the twin rocks that rise from the water like sleeping seals, the gap between two hills where the morning light falls just so. Here, generations of fishermen have cast their nets, drawn by the same instincts and knowledge passed down through careful observation and patient practice. This spot has been blessed by years of respectful fishing, by men who understood that taking from the sea required giving back. Respect, attention, gratitude, and the wisdom to know when enough was enough. The water here runs clearer than in other places, as if it has been purified by generations of grateful prayers, blessed by the understanding that the sea gives its gifts freely to those who approach with humble hearts. The church spire, visible even at this distance, reminds him of the community that waits for his return, the network of relationships that give meaning to his solitary work. The twin rocks speak of permanence in a world of constant change, of landmarks that guide not just navigation but memory, marking the spots where important moments have occurred, where he first met the magical fish, where he proposed to his wife, where he scattered his father's ashes according to the old man's wishes. The fisherman lowers his nets with practiced care, feeding the rope through his calloused hands as the weighted edges sink toward the dark water below. He knows these depths as well as he knows the cottage rooms, where the fish gather, where the currents run strongest, where the sea floor drops away into mysterious darkness. The net settles into position with a barely audible splash, then disappears beneath the surface, leaving only a few cork floats to mark its presence. The net descends through layers of water that grow cooler and darker with depth, settling into currents that carry the scents and nutrients that attract fish, like underwater gardens. The weighted edges spread the net into a perfect arc, creating a tunnel through which fish can swim until they encounter the gentle barrier that will guide them toward the fisherman's patient boat. The cork floats bob on the surface like small lighthouses, their bright colors visible even from a distance. They mark not just the net's position, but the boundary between the fisherman's world and the sea's mysteries, the point where human skill and nature's abundance meet in ancient partnership. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let its ancient rhythm carry away any tension you may be holding. Now comes the waiting, the part of fishing that teaches patience better than any master. The fisherman secures the net rope to a cleat on the boat's side and settles back to watch and listen. The morning is full of subtle sounds, the lapping of small waves against the hull, the distant cry of gulls, the whisper of wind through the boat's rigging. These sounds blend into a symphony that speaks of peace and belonging. The boat rocks gently on the swells, a motion as soothing as a cradle. The fisherman unwraps his lunch and eats slowly, savoring the bread his wife baked and the dried fish from yesterday's catch. He drinks water from the clay jug, tasting the sweetness that comes from their well, fed by springs that filter through sand and stone before emerging cool and pure. Each bite, each sip is taken with gratitude for the simple abundance that fills his life. This waiting is not empty time, but a kind of active meditation, a partnership with forces larger than human will. The fisherman has learned that the sea gives what it chooses to give, and that gift is always enough for those who receive it with thankful hearts. His role is simply to be present, to tend his nets with care, and to accept whatever blessing the water offers. The water that rocks his boat carries stories from distant places, rain that fell on mountains, rivers that traveled hundreds of miles to reach the sea, currents that circle the globe carrying nutrients and life to every corner of the ocean. He drinks from this same vast system, eats fish that have fed on its abundance, breathes air that has been purified by its endless circulation. Float like a leaf on calm water. Let yourself be open to the wonder that surrounds you. Time moves differently on the water. Minutes stretch into a peaceful eternity, where the only measure is the sun's slow climb across the morning sky. The fisherman does not hurry or worry about his catch. He has learned that the sea gives what it chooses to give, and that gift is always enough for those who receive it with thankful hearts. His role is simply to be present, to tend his nets with care, and to accept whatever blessing the water offers. A splash near the boat draws his attention, and he looks up to see a fish leap clear of the water, its scales flashing silver in the sunlight before it disappears back into the depths. But this is no ordinary fish. There is something in its movement, in the way it seems to hang in the air for just a moment longer than physics should allow, that speaks of magic, older than memory. The fish's leap creates ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, each ring catching the morning light like a benediction. The fisherman watches these circles expand and fade, understanding that he has witnessed something beyond the ordinary, something that speaks of the deep mysteries that dwell beneath the familiar surface of daily life. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself floating on the same peaceful current that supports the fisherman's boat. The fisherman watches, curious but not alarmed. He has spent his life on these waters and has learned to recognize when the sea wishes to share something beyond the ordinary. The fish surfaces again, this time much closer to the boat, and the fisherman can see that its scales shimmer with colors that seem to change with each shift of light. Now green as deep kelp, now blue as the morning sky, now silver as moonlight on waves. These colors move across the fish's body like living light, creating patterns that seem to tell stories in a language older than words. The creature's eyes hold depths that remind the fisherman of the deepest water, where sunlight never penetrates, but life persists in forms too wonderful for surface dwellers to imagine. This is clearly no ordinary fish, but something touched by the sea's most profound magic. "Good morning, friend," the fisherman says softly, as he might greet any neighbor encountered on an early walk. The fish regards him with eyes that seem impossibly wise, ancient as the tides themselves. When it speaks, its voice is like the sound of waves on pebbles, gentle and musical. The fish's voice carries harmonics that seem to resonate not just in the fisherman's ears, but in his bones, in his heart, in the part of him that remembers being rocked to sleep by the sea's rhythm before he was even born. It is a voice that speaks of depths beyond measuring, of currents that carry wisdom from the world's beginning to its unimaginable end. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself rest in the trust that there is always enough. "Good morning, fisherman," the fish replies. "I see you tend your nets with patience and care. The sea has watched you for many seasons, and it knows your heart is kind." The fisherman feels no fear at this conversation, only a deep sense of rightness, as if the ocean itself has chosen to speak with him through this beautiful creature. He rests his oars and leans forward slightly, showing the same respectful attention he would give to any elder sharing wisdom. The fish circles the boat slowly, its graceful movement creating gentle ripples that catch and scatter the sunlight. Each movement seems choreographed by some divine intelligence, perfectly balanced between power and grace, between presence and mystery. The fisherman understands that he is witnessing something that few humans ever see, a revelation of the consciousness that dwells within the sea itself. "I fish only what I need," the fisherman says simply. "The sea has always provided enough." These words carry the weight of a lifetime's experience, of seasons when the catch was abundant and seasons when it was lean, but always enough for those who understood the difference between need and greed. The fisherman's voice holds the same reverence he might use in prayer, recognizing that this conversation touches on the sacred principles that govern all life. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself surrounded by the same peace that fills this magical moment. The fish's scales shimmer brighter, reflecting not just the morning light, but something deeper, the luminescence of deep water, of coral gardens where sunlight never reaches, of treasures hidden in places known only to the sea itself. This is why the sea wishes to offer you a gift, the fish says, not because you demand or deserve, but because you understand the balance between taking and giving, between need and greed. The fisherman considers this carefully. He thinks of his wife waiting at home, of their simple cottage with its glowing windows and well-tended garden. He thinks of the contentment they have found in their quiet life, the richness that comes not from accumulation, but from appreciation. His thoughts flow like gentle currents, touching on all the ways the sea has already blessed them, the fish that fill their nets, the beauty that fills their eyes, the peace that fills their hearts. What more could they possibly need? What gift could enhance the abundance they already know? What gift would the sea offer? He asks, not from greed, but from genuine curiosity about what the ocean might consider valuable. This question emerges from wonder rather than want, from a heart that has learned to approach mystery with respect rather than demand. The fisherman's voice carries the same tone he uses when asking his wife about her dreams, when inquiring about a neighbor's health, when seeking to understand rather than to acquire. The fisherman rows home through water that sparkles like scattered diamonds, his boat heavy with the morning's catch, and his heart full of quiet wonder. The cottage grows larger as he approaches the shore, its familiar outline a beacon of warmth and belonging. Smoke still rises from the chimney, and he can see his wife moving about inside, her silhouette framed by the amber glow of the windows. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself returning to the safety of home, to the peace that waits in familiar places. He drags the boat up onto the sand, securing it beyond the reach of the tide that will return while he sleeps. The fish glisten in the basket, enough for their evening meal, enough to salt and dry for tomorrow, enough to trade for the other simple necessities that make their life complete. As he carries the catch toward the cottage, gulls call overhead, but they do not dive for his fish. Even the birds seem to understand that this fisherman takes only what he needs and shares the rest with generous hands. His wife appears in the doorway before he reaches it, her face lighting with the quiet joy that greets him every morning. She wears a dress the color of sea glass, faded from years of washing, but soft as silk against her skin. Her hair is pinned back with a comb, carved from driftwood, and her hands are dusted with flour from the bread she has been baking. The sea was kind today, the fisherman says, setting down his basket. His wife looks at the catch and nods approvingly, her fingers already sorting the fish with practiced skill. She knows which ones will be best fresh, which should be salted, and which are perfect for the soup she has been simmering since dawn. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the gentle rhythm of shared work, of hands that know their tasks by heart. They work together in comfortable silence, preparing the fish with movements as synchronized as a dance they have performed for years. The fisherman scales and cleans while his wife tends the fire and checks the bread in the small oven. Their kitchen is tiny but perfectly arranged, every pot and pan in its proper place, every knife sharp and ready for use. Through the window, the morning light streams across their small table, illuminating the simple beauty of their shared meal. Fresh bread, still warm from the oven, fish cooked with herbs from their garden, rosemary that grows despite the salt air, thyme that spreads in purple carpets across the sandy soil. water from their well, sweet and cold, in clay cups shaped by the village potter. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let yourself sink into this moment of simple abundance, of needs met with gratitude. The fisherman's wife sits across from him, her hands wrapped around her cup of tea, brewed from kelp and mint. She has been thinking while he was on the water, her mind following the same gentle currents that carry her through each day. The cottage is beautiful in its simplicity, but sometimes she wonders about small comforts that might make their quiet life even more peaceful. I met someone unusual on the water today, the fisherman says softly, and he tells her about the fish with scales like shifting light, about the conversation that felt as natural as breathing, about the offer of a gift freely given. His wife listens with the deep attention she brings to all things, her eyes reflecting the same wonder that filled his morning. "What do you think such a gift might be?" she asks, not with greed, but with the curiosity of someone who has learned to appreciate the magic hidden in everyday moments. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself surrounded by the peace that comes from contentment with what you already have. The fisherman's wife looks around their cottage with eyes that see not what is lacking, but what is present. The single oil lamp that lights their evenings, steady and warm, but sometimes struggling against the darkness. The quilts on their bed, soft and thick, but not quite enough to banish the deep chill of winter nights. The window that looks out on the sea, beautiful but small, offering only a glimpse of the vast horizon. Perhaps, she says slowly, if the sea is truly offering a gift, it might be a small one, something that would not change who we are, but simply make our simple life a little brighter, a little warmer. She thinks of winter evenings when they sit close to the fire, sharing the light of their single lamp as she mends nets, and he carves fishing floats from driftwood. A second lamp would mean they could sit comfortably apart, each with their own circle of light, yet still together in the warmth of their small room. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let it carry away any sense of wanting, leaving only appreciation for what surrounds you. Or perhaps, she continues, her voice soft with the rhythm of waves, our blankets could be a little thicker, a little warmer, so that we might sleep more deeply in the coldest months. She imagines covers soft as clouds, woven from wool blessed by salt air and sunshine, heavy enough to keep out the chill, but light enough to let them dream of summer seas. The fisherman nods thoughtfully. These are not the wishes of greed, but the gentle hopes of someone who has learned to find joy in small comforts. They speak of a desire not to rise above their station, but to rest more fully within it, to embrace their simple life with even greater peace. And the window, his wife adds, glancing toward the small opening that frames their view of the sea. Sometimes I wish it were a little larger, so that we might see more of the sunrise, more of the ships that pass in the distance, more of the sky that changes color with each hour of the day. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself settling into the same contentment that fills this cottage by the sea. These are wishes born not of dissatisfaction, but of deep appreciation for what they already have. The fisherman's wife loves their cottage, loves the life they have built together with patient hands and grateful hearts. But she also understands that even the most peaceful life can be made a little more comfortable, a little more full of simple beauty. The fisherman reaches across the small table and takes her hand in his. Her fingers are warm from holding the teacup, soft from years of gentle work. These seem like gifts that would bring more peace, not less, he says. Small changes that would help us appreciate what we have even more deeply, she smiles. And her smile is like sunlight breaking through morning clouds. Yes, she says, not to make us different people, but to help us be more fully ourselves, to rest more deeply in the contentment we have already found. Float like a leaf on calm water. Let yourself be carried by the same gentle current of acceptance that flows through their conversation. They finish their meal slowly, savoring not just the food, but the quiet companionship, the soft light filtering through their small window, the distant sound of waves that never stops, never hurries, never demands attention but simply continues, patient and eternal. The fisherman's wife clears the dishes and sets them in the basin of warm water, her movements as graceful as the motion of kelp, swaying in shallow tide pools. The fisherman prepares to return to the water, not because he needs more fish, but because the sea called to him about a gift, and courtesy demands that he return to give his answer. He checks his boat, straightens his nets, and kisses his wife gently on the forehead before stepping out into the midday sun. Ask with gratitude, she calls softly after him. Ask as you would request a favor from a dear friend. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself rest in the trust that what is needed will be provided. The fisherman walks across the warm sand, his feet finding the path they have worn between cottage and boat over countless days. The tide is turning, and the water laps gently at the shore, with the patient rhythm that has marked time since the world began. He looks back once at the cottage, at the window where his wife waves, at the smoke rising straight and true from their chimney. This is the life they have chosen, the life they have built together with love and careful attention. If the sea wishes to offer gifts that honor rather than change this life, they will receive them with the same gratitude they bring to each sunrise, each meal shared, each peaceful evening by their small fire. The boat slides into the water with the familiar sound of wood against sand, and the fisherman rows out toward deeper water, carrying with him the gentle wishes of a heart that has learned to find abundance in simplicity, magic in the everyday rhythm of tide and time. The fisherman rows through water that seems calmer than usual, as if the sea itself is settling into a peaceful mood. The afternoon sun paints golden paths across the surface, and small waves lap against his boat with a gentle rhythm that matches his heartbeat. He rows to the same spot where he met the magical fish, guided by the familiar landmarks that have marked this place in his memory for years. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself carried forward by the same trust that guides the fisherman's hands on the oars. When he reaches the deep water, the fisherman stops rowing and lets his boat drift naturally. He does not call out or demand attention, but simply waits with the patience that years of fishing have taught him. The sea will respond in its own time, according to its own ancient wisdom. The water around his boat begins to shimmer with that same otherworldly light he noticed in the morning, as if moonbeams were trapped beneath the surface and slowly rising toward the sun. Soon the fish appears, breaking the surface with barely a ripple, its scales catching the afternoon light, and throwing it back in patterns that seem to dance in the air. You have returned, the fish says, its voice like the sound of waves washing over smooth stones. Have you and your wife spoken of what gift might serve your peaceful life? Let your shoulders drop. Feel yourself becoming part of this conversation between human hearts and the wisdom of the sea. The fisherman nods respectfully, his hands resting quietly on the oars. We have spoken together, as you suggested. Our wishes are small ones, born not from dissatisfaction, but from love for the simple life we share. He tells the fish about their single lamp that struggles sometimes against the winter darkness, about blankets that are warm but not quite warm enough for the deepest cold, about the small window that frames only a portion of the beautiful sea they love so much. As he speaks, his voice carries the same gentleness that fills his daily conversations with his wife. No urgency, no demand, just the quiet sharing of hopes held lightly. The fish circles his boat slowly, considering his words. Its movement creates gentle spirals in the water that catch the light and send it dancing across the wooden hull. These are wishes that honor the life you have built, the fish says finally. They speak of gratitude rather than greed, of a desire to rest more deeply in contentment rather than to escape it. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let yourself drift with the fish's gentle movement, secure in the knowledge that wisdom is guiding this conversation. The sea will grant these gifts, the fish continues, but not in the way mortals usually expect. The best gifts are those that grow naturally from the life you already live, that feel like blessings you might have discovered on your own, rather than magic imposed from outside. The fisherman listens carefully, understanding that true wisdom often comes disguised as coincidence, as the natural unfolding of events that seem ordinary, but carry extraordinary grace within them. The sea's gifts will not disturb the peace they have found, but will enhance it, the way morning light enhances the beauty of familiar rooms without changing their essential character. Return to your cottage, the fish says. Live your life as you always have, with the same careful attention to small joys and simple pleasures. But watch for the ways the world responds to grateful hearts. Sometimes what we need comes to us through the kindness of neighbors, sometimes through our own hands discovering new skills, sometimes through changes so gentle they seem like natural growth rather than sudden transformation. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself surrounded by the same patient faith that guides the sea's ancient wisdom. The fish pauses in its circling and looks directly at the fisherman with eyes that hold depths beyond measuring. Your lamp will burn brighter when you most need light. Your quilts will be warmer when the cold winds blow. Your window will show you more of the world's beauty than you have seen before. These gifts will come not all at once, but as your lives unfold naturally, each blessing arriving exactly when it can be most deeply appreciated. The fisherman feels a warmth spreading through his chest, a sense of gratitude so deep it seems to connect him to every peaceful moment he and his wife have shared. Thank you, he says simply. We will watch for these gifts with the same attention we bring to watching for the fish beneath the waves, or the changes in the weather that tell us when to take shelter. This is wisdom, the fish replies, to live fully in the present while remaining open to the gentle miracles that surround patient hearts. Your gratitude makes you wealthy beyond measure, and wealth shared generously returns to the giver multiplied. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let it remind you that the most profound changes often happen as gradually and naturally as the turning of the tides. With a graceful movement that sends ripples of light across the water, the fish prepares to depart. But before it disappears, it offers one more gift of wisdom. Remember that the greatest magic is not in the getting, but in the appreciating. The lamp that burns brighter does so, because grateful eyes see more clearly. The quilts that warm more deeply do so, because hearts at peace rest more fully. The window that shows greater beauty does so, because those who look through it have learned to see wonder in the simplest views. The fisherman nods, understanding that the fish is speaking not just about the specific gifts they have discussed, but about the way gratitude transforms everything it touches. A grateful heart turns a simple cottage into a palace, a modest meal into a feast, a quiet life into an adventure rich with meaning. The fish disappears beneath the surface with a final flash of silver and green, leaving only gentle ripples to mark where magic touched the ordinary afternoon. The fisherman sits quietly for a moment, feeling the boat rock gently beneath him, listening to the eternal conversation between wind and water. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself floating on the same peaceful current that will carry the fisherman home to share this moment of wonder with his wife. He takes up his oars and begins the journey back to shore, but he does not hurry. The afternoon is beautiful, and the conversation with the fish has filled him with a deep sense of rightness, of being exactly where he belongs, living exactly the life that serves not just his own happiness, but the greater harmony of all things. As he rows, he notices details he might have missed in the morning. The way the light falls across the distant village, creating shadows that reveal the gentle contours of familiar buildings. The pattern of birds wheeling over the harbor, their movement as choreographed as a dance. The sound of children playing on the beach, their laughter carrying across the water like music. Float like a leaf on calm water. Let yourself be carried by the same sense of wonder that fills the fisherman's journey home. These observations feel like the beginning of the gifts the fish promised. Not dramatic changes, but an enhanced ability to see the beauty that was always present, waiting for grateful eyes to discover it. The fisherman realizes that perhaps the magic is not in the fish or the sea, but in the willingness to approach life with open hands and an appreciative heart. The cottage comes into view, its windows catching the afternoon light and throwing it back in warm, golden rectangles. Smoke still rises from the chimney, and the fisherman can see his wife in the garden, tending to the hardy plants that thrive in salt air. She looks up as he approaches and waves, her gesture carrying all the welcome of a harbor light guiding ships safely home. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself rest in the knowledge that some journeys end not with arrival, but with return. The deeper coming home that happens when we recognize that we were never truly far from where we belonged. The fisherman pulls his boat up onto the familiar sand and walks toward the cottage, carrying with him not just the memory of magic, but the understanding that magic and daily life are not separate things, but different ways of seeing the same eternal dance between gratitude and grace, between the human heart and the generous world that surrounds it. Evening settles over the cottage like a soft blanket, and the fisherman shares with his wife the wisdom the fish offered. They eat their simple dinner by the light of their single lamp, but tonight that light seems to burn with unusual steadiness, casting warm circles that reach further into the corners of their small room than ever before. Neither speaks of this small change, but both notice it, exchanging glances that carry quiet wonder. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself settling into this evening rhythm, where magic weaves itself so gently into ordinary moments that it seems like the natural order of things. After the dishes are cleared and the cottage tidied for night, the fisherman's wife suggests they take their evening walk along the shore. This is their custom when the weather is fair, a gentle stroll that helps them release the day's small concerns and prepare their hearts for peaceful sleep. Tonight, the suggestion carries an extra invitation, an unspoken desire to be present for whatever subtle gifts the sea might be ready to reveal. They wrap themselves in their shawls, hers knitted from wool traded for fish at the village market, his woven from flax that grows in the fields beyond the dunes. The cottage door closes behind them with its familiar wooden sigh, and they step out into the soft darkness where stars are just beginning to appear overhead. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the cool evening air on your skin, carrying the scent of salt and seaweed and the distant promise of rain. The fisherman carries a small lantern, its flame protected by glass worn smooth by years of coastal winds. The light it throws is modest but sufficient, creating a gentle circle that moves with them as they walk across the sand. Their feet find the familiar path between cottage and water, worn by countless evening walks, by morning journeys to the boat, by all the daily movements that connect their life to the sea. The tide is high tonight, and the waves reach further up the beach than usual, leaving behind treasures that only appear when the sea feels generous. Shells gleam like scattered stars in the lantern light, some familiar, some rarely seen, all beautiful in their own perfect way. The fisherman's wife bends to collect a few, not from any desire to hoard, but simply to appreciate their intricate spirals and delicate colors. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let yourself drift into the gentle rhythm of discovery, of finding beauty in unexpected places. They walk slowly, their feet making soft sounds in the damp sand. Behind them, their cottage windows glow with that same unusually steady light, a beacon that will guide them home when their walk is complete. Ahead, the lighthouse sweeps its beam across the water in the same reliable pattern that has marked the passage of time for generations of fishermen and their families. Look, the fisherman's wife says softly, pointing toward the water where the lantern light catches something unusual. Half buried in the sand where the waves have just retreated, a piece of sea glass glows like a captured star. She kneels to retrieve it, and when she holds it up to the lantern, they both gasp at its beauty. The glass is perfectly smooth, shaped by years of tumbling in the surf until all its sharp edges have been worn away. But this piece is unlike any they have seen before. It seems to hold light not just from the lantern, but from some inner source, glowing with the same gentle radiance they noticed in their cottage lamp. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself becoming part of this moment of discovery, this small miracle offered by the generous sea. "It's beautiful," the fisherman says, though the word seems too small to capture the wonder of holding trapped starlight in their hands. His wife turns the glass slowly, watching the way it catches and holds the lantern flame, the way it seems to pulse with its own quiet rhythm. "It feels warm," she whispers, and indeed the glass radiates a gentle heat that has nothing to do with the lantern's flame. They both understand without words that this is part of the sea's gift, not just an object, but a reminder that beauty and wonder surround them always, waiting to be discovered by grateful eyes. They continue their walk, the sea glass safe in the fisherman's wife's pocket, where its warmth spreads like a small sun against her hip. The beach reveals other treasures, a piece of driftwood shaped like a perfect heart, a shell that whispers secrets when held to the ear, a smooth stone that fits exactly in the palm of the hand, as if it were made for holding. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let each wave carry away the last traces of ordinary worry, leaving only room for wonder. But the greatest treasure is not something they find, but something they see as they round the small point that marks the halfway point of their usual walk. The view that opens before them takes their breath away. They have walked this path hundreds of times, but tonight the familiar vista seems transformed. The lighthouse beam sweeps across water that sparkles with unusual brightness, as if the sea has been scattered with diamonds. Ships pass in the distance, their lights twinkling like earthbound stars. The moon rises full and bright, painting a silver path that seems to lead directly to where they stand. Even the air itself seems to shimmer with possibility. The window, the fisherman's wife breathes, and they both understand. Their small cottage window, which frames such a limited view of this magnificent seascape, seems suddenly inadequate. Not because it is wrong, but because there is so much beauty waiting to be seen, so much wonder that their grateful hearts are now ready to appreciate. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself expanding to hold all this beauty, all this gentle magic that surrounds patient hearts. They stand together on the small rise of sand, their lantern casting its warm circle around them, the sea glass in the fisherman's wife's pocket glowing with gentle heat. This is the moment when they truly understand the fish's gift, not just the promise of practical improvements to their simple life, but the deeper blessing of enhanced perception, of eyes that have been opened to see the magic that was always present. "We should turn back," the fisherman says gently, not because he wants the walk to end, but because he understands that some experiences are meant to be held lightly, appreciated fully, and then released before they lose their magic to grasping. His wife nods, taking one last long look at the transformed seascape. Tomorrow they will see this view again, but it will be different. Still beautiful, but in the way that familiar beauty is beautiful, comfortable rather than miraculous. Tonight is for wonder. Tomorrow will be for grateful remembering. Float like a leaf on calm water. Let yourself be carried back toward home on the same gentle current that guides their return. They retrace their steps along the beach, their feet finding the same path, but their hearts carrying new treasures. The memory of light dancing on water, the warmth of sea glass glowing in darkness, the knowledge that their small life is surrounded by infinite beauty, waiting to be discovered by those who know how to look. The cottage windows grow larger as they approach, and they can see that the light inside continues to burn with that same unusual steadiness. The building looks exactly as it always has. Weathered boards, simple lines, modest proportions, yet somehow it also seems more welcoming, more beautiful, more exactly perfect for the life they have chosen to live within its walls. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself settle into the knowledge that home is not just a place, but a feeling, and that feeling grows stronger with each grateful return. They pause at the cottage door, turning for one last look at the sea that has given them so much. Fish for their table, beauty for their eyes, wisdom for their hearts, and now these gentle gifts that honor, rather than change the peaceful life they have built together. The lighthouse beam sweeps past one more time, a blessing and a benediction, a reminder that even in darkness, there are always lights to guide patient hearts safely home. The fisherman and his wife enter their cottage carrying the night's wonders with them, the smooth sea, glass that continues to pulse with gentle warmth, the memory of moonlight dancing on waves, the deep satisfaction of having witnessed beauty that seemed to exist just for their grateful eyes. Inside, their single lamp burns with that same mysterious steadiness, casting light that reaches into corners that once lay in shadow. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself crossing the threshold between the magical and the familiar, understanding that in a grateful heart, there is no difference between the two. The fisherman's wife places the sea glass on the windowsill beside their collection of shells and smooth stones. Immediately, the glass begins to glow more brightly, as if it recognizes its proper home. The light it casts mingles with the lamplight, creating patterns on the wooden walls that shift and dance like reflections on water. Their small cottage, already dear to them, seems to shimmer with new beauty. It's as if the house itself is happy, the fisherman's wife observes, running her hand along the smooth wood of their table. The grain seems more pronounced tonight, more beautiful, as if the enhanced light is revealing details that were always there, but never noticed. The fisherman nods, understanding that this is how the sea's gifts work, not by changing what exists, but by helping grateful eyes see more clearly. Let your shoulders drop. Feel yourself settling into this enhanced version of home, where everything familiar becomes newly beautiful. They prepare for bed with their usual quiet routine, but tonight each task seems touched with extra meaning. The fisherman banks the fire, and the flames seem to dance with unusual grace. His wife brushes her hair by the mirror, and her reflection shows not just her familiar features, but the contentment that glows from within, the peace that comes from a day well lived and gratefully received. Their quilts, when they draw them up to their chins, feel softer than before, warmer, as if they have been touched by the same magic that brightened their lamp and made the sea glass glow. They lie side by side, listening to the eternal conversation between waves and shore, feeling surrounded by the gentle protection of a cottage that has become more than shelter. It has become a sanctuary blessed by grateful hearts. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let yourself sink into the same deep peace that cradles the fisherman and his wife in their small bed. But sleep does not come immediately, not because they are restless, but because the day has been so full of quiet wonders that they want to savor them a little longer. They talk softly about what they have seen and felt, their voices no louder than whispers so as not to disturb the peaceful spell that has settled over their home. Tomorrow I think I'll mend the fishing nets, the fisherman says, though his nets are already in perfect repair, and perhaps clean the cottage windows so we can see the sea even more clearly. His wife smiles in the darkness. I'll tend the garden and maybe bake extra bread to share with our neighbors. The herbs are growing so well this year, and the salt in the air seems to make everything more flavorful. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself becoming part of their planning, their gentle intention to care for the gifts they have received by sharing them with others. These are not dramatic plans, but the simple decisions of people who understand that blessings multiply when they are shared, that gratitude expressed through action creates more abundance than gratitude merely felt. The sea's gifts have not made them different people, but have helped them become more fully themselves, more generous, more appreciative, more aware of the beauty that surrounds them always. As the night deepens, they finally drift toward sleep, but even in their dreams they remain connected to the magic of the evening. The fisherman dreams of nets that shimmer with silver light, of fish that swim willingly into his boat because they recognize his gentle heart. His wife dreams of bread that rises higher than ever before, of neighbors gathering around their table to share food that tastes of sunshine and salt air. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let it carry you into the same peaceful dreams where magic and daily life dance together in perfect harmony. Morning comes gently, as it always does by the sea, with light that seeps gradually through the cottage windows, rather than bursting forth all at once. The fisherman and his wife wake naturally, without hurry, their bodies rested and their hearts still carrying the warmth of the previous evenings. Wonders. The sea glass on the windowsill catches the first rays of sunlight and throws them across the cottage, walls in patterns that seem to dance with joy. Their lamp, which they forgot to extinguish the night before, has burned steadily through the darkness without consuming more than a few drops of oil. The cottage itself seems to glow from within, as if the very walls have absorbed some of the magic that blessed their evening walk. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself waking into a day that promises its own gentle wonders, its own opportunities for grateful living. The fisherman rises and dresses, but today his preparations for the day's fishing feel different, not rushed or routine, but touched with the same reverence he brings to important ceremonies. He checks his nets with extra care, not because they need attention, but because he wants to honor the tools that help him provide for his family. He inspects his boat with loving eyes, appreciating not just its seaworthiness, but its weathered beauty, the way its blue paint has faded to the exact color of deep water on a cloudy day. His wife prepares breakfast with the same enhanced attention, choosing each ingredient as if she were creating a work of art rather than a simple meal. The bread she slices releases steam that carries the scent of wheat and salt and something indefinable that might be happiness itself. The tea she brews from kelp and mint tastes richer than usual, more complex, as if the plants themselves have been touched by the sea's blessing. Float like a leaf on calm water. Feel yourself moving through morning tasks with the same graceful attention, the same appreciation for the sacred hidden within the ordinary. As they eat together, the fisherman and his wife notice that their small window seems to frame a larger view than before, not because the window itself has changed. Its wooden frame remains exactly the same size, but because their eyes have learned to see more. Where once they glimpsed only a slice of horizon, now they perceive the vastness that lies beyond. Where once they saw only the nearest waves, now they sense the ocean's infinite depths. The sea is especially beautiful this morning, the fisherman's wife observes, though the sea looks much as it always does. Gray-green water touched with white foam, waves rolling endlessly toward shore. But today she sees not just the surface, but the life beneath it, the ancient wisdom that flows in currents older than memory, the generous spirit that offers gifts to grateful hearts. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself rest in the understanding that transformation is not about changing what we see, but about learning to see what was always there. After breakfast, the fisherman prepares to launch his boat, but today he carries with him a different kind of awareness. He knows that the fish beneath the waves are not just potential catches, but fellow creatures sharing the same ocean that blessed his cottage with light. His nets will be cast with respect, his fishing done with gratitude for whatever abundance the sea chooses to provide. His wife stands in the cottage doorway, watching him prepare for the day's work. The morning light streaming through the window behind her creates a soft aureole around her figure, making her appear almost luminous. She raises her hand in blessing and farewell, and the gesture seems to carry extra power, as if her love and good wishes have taken on visible form. The fisherman pushes his boat into the gentle surf and climbs aboard, taking up his oars with practiced ease. As he rows away from shore, he turns back once to see the cottage growing smaller behind him. But today the building seems to glow with its own inner light, a beacon of peace and contentment that he carries in his heart no matter how far his fishing takes him from home. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself becoming part of this daily ritual that has been transformed not by magic, but by gratitude, not by spells, but by the simple recognition that every moment holds the potential for wonder. The cottage stands empty now, but not lonely, filled with the presence of love and care, even when its occupants are away. The sea glass continues to glow on the windowsill. The lamp burns with steady flame, and the very walls seem to pulse gently with the rhythm of grateful hearts. This is how the sea's gifts work, not through dramatic transformation, but through the gradual enhancement of what already exists, the slow revelation of beauty that was always present, waiting for appreciative eyes to discover it. Days pass like gentle waves, each one carrying its own small gifts, its own quiet revelations. The fisherman and his wife settle into their enhanced life with the same peaceful rhythm they have always known, but now every familiar task sparkles with new awareness. Their cottage has become a haven where magic lives comfortably alongside the mundane, where extraordinary light illuminates perfectly ordinary moments. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself entering this deeper rhythm, where time moves not like a river rushing toward some distant destination, but like the tide, eternally returning to the same shore, yet somehow different with each approach. The fisherman's wife tends her garden in the early morning, when dew still clings to the hardy plants that thrive in salt air. The herbs seem more fragrant now, their leaves releasing scents that speak of earth and ocean, working together in ancient partnership. She harvests what she needs for the day's cooking and leaves the rest to grow, understanding that abundance comes not from taking everything available, but from taking only what serves the moment's true need. The sea glass on their windowsill has become a gentle beacon, its warm light visible from various points in the cottage throughout the day. Neighbors walking past sometimes pause to admire the soft glow, and when they ask about it, the fisherman's wife simply says it was a gift from the sea. She does not elaborate on the magic, understanding that such explanations would only diminish the wonder for those who experience it firsthand. Let your shoulders drop. Feel yourself settling into this understanding that the most profound gifts are often the ones that need no explanation, that speak directly to the heart without passing through the busy complexity of the mind. Their lamp continues to burn with unusual steadiness, never flickering even in strong winds, never requiring more oil than usual despite its brighter flame. Evening after evening, it creates circles of warmth that reach into every corner of their small home, illuminating not just their simple furnishings, but the contentment that surrounds them like an invisible blessing. The cottage window, through some trick of enhanced perception, now offers views that seem to encompass the entire horizon. The fisherman's wife spends part of each afternoon sitting beside it, watching the play of light on water, the passage of distant ships, the dance of seabirds over waves. She does not read or work during these times, but simply allows herself to receive the beauty that flows endlessly past their modest home. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let yourself drift into the same patient watching, the same willingness to receive beauty without grasping after it. One evening, as they share their simple dinner by the enhanced lamplight, the fisherman's wife speaks the thought that has been growing in her heart like a flower, opening slowly to the sun. I think I understand now what the fish meant about gifts that honor the life we already live. Her husband sets down his spoon and gives her his full attention, the same deep listening he has always offered, but now enhanced by his growing understanding that every conversation is an opportunity for wisdom to reveal itself. Our lamp burns brighter, she continues, but it is still our lamp, still the same humble vessel we have shared for so many years. Our quilts are warmer, but they are still the covers we have slept beneath together, still stitched from fabric we traded for fish at the village market. Our window shows us more beauty, but it is still our window, still the same opening we have looked through for countless mornings and evenings. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself understanding along with her that transformation is not about replacement, but about revelation, not about becoming someone else, but about becoming more fully yourself. The fisherman nods slowly, his eyes reflecting the steady lamplight. The gifts have not changed who we are, he says. They have helped us see more clearly who we have always been. People who find richness in simplicity, beauty in the everyday, abundance in enough. This word, enough, hangs in the air between them like a blessing. It speaks not of limitation, but of completion, not of settling for less, but of recognizing when more would only disturb the perfect balance they have achieved. Their cottage is large enough for 2 people who love each other. Their daily catch is sufficient to feed them and share with neighbors. Their simple pleasures provide all the joy their hearts can hold. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let it remind you that enough is not a number, but a feeling, not a quantity, but a quality of appreciation that transforms scarcity into abundance. That night, as they prepare for bed, the fisherman's wife places the sea glass in her palm and watches its gentle glow pulse with the rhythm of her heartbeat. "Do you think," she asks, "that this is what the fish meant when it spoke of wealth beyond measure? Not the accumulation of things, but the appreciation of what surrounds us always." Her husband sits on the edge of their bed, removing his boots with the same careful attention he brings to all his tasks. "I think," he says, "that we have always been wealthy. The fish simply helped us see our riches more clearly." They lie down together beneath quilts that seem to radiate warmth from some inner source, surrounded by the gentle glow of their transformed cottage. Outside, the lighthouse beam sweeps its regular pattern across waters that shine with reflected stars. Inside, their lamp burns with steady flame, creating circles of peace that expand far beyond the walls of their small home. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself resting in the same deep contentment, the same understanding that abundance is not something to be acquired, but something to be recognized. The fisherman's wife reaches over to take her husband's hand beneath the warm covers. His fingers intertwine with hers in the gesture that has marked the end of countless days. But tonight the simple touch seems to carry extra meaning. Gratitude for shared life, appreciation for shared peace, acknowledgement that their greatest treasure is not the cottage or the lamp or the sea glass, but the love that has created a home worthy of such gifts. "Tomorrow," she says softly, "I think I'll make extra bread and take some to the widow who lives alone near the harbor. Her cottage is dark in the evenings, and she might appreciate a loaf made with herbs blessed by salt air. And I'll repair old Marcus's nets," the fisherman responds. His hands shake too much now for the fine work, but he's too proud to ask for help. "I'll say I need practice with a new knotting technique. Float like a leaf on calm water. Feel yourself understanding that this is how abundance multiplies, not through accumulation, but through circulation, not through keeping, but through giving." These plans arise naturally from hearts that have learned to see their blessings as gifts meant to be shared rather than treasures meant to be hoarded. The fisherman and his wife understand that their enhanced cottage, their brighter lamp, their warmer quilts are not rewards for their virtue, but opportunities for greater service, ways to extend the peace they have found to others who might benefit from its gentle influence. As sleep begins to claim them, they remain conscious a little longer of the magic that surrounds them, not dramatic or demanding magic, but the quiet enchantment that comes from living in harmony with the generous spirit of the world. Their cottage glows around them like a lantern of contentment, a beacon that signals to all who see it that here dwells peace, here live abundance understood and appreciated. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself rest in the knowledge that you, too, are surrounded by gifts waiting to be recognized, abundance waiting to be appreciated, magic waiting to be discovered by grateful eyes. The tide outside follows its eternal rhythm, neither hurrying toward high water lingering at the ebb, but flowing according to laws older than human memory. In their small bed, the fisherman and his wife breathe in the same patient cadence, their hearts beating with the same trust in the natural order that governs waves and winds, and the generous spirit that offers gifts to those who know how to receive them with grateful hands. This is enough. This has always been enough. This will always be enough for hearts that have learned to measure wealth not in what they possess, but in what they appreciate, not in what they lack, but in what surrounds them always, waiting to be seen with eyes that have been opened by the transforming power of gratitude. The seasons turn as they always have, marking time with the same patient rhythm as the tides that wash the shore beyond the cottage door. Summer brings longer days and warmer winds. Autumn paints the sea in colors that change with each hour's light. Winter wraps the coast in soft gray veils that speak of storms passing far offshore. Through all these gentle transformations, the fisherman and his wife continue their quiet life, their days enriched by the sea's gifts, but unchanged in their essential character. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself settling into this eternal rhythm where seasons cycle like breath itself, each one necessary, each one bringing its own particular beauty. Their cottage has become a landmark of sorts for travelers along the coastal path. The glow from their windows, the steady light that burns night and day, the garden where herbs flourish despite salt spray, all mark this place as somehow special. Though visitors cannot quite say why, they pause sometimes to admire the view from the cottage doorway, the way the small window seems to frame vast horizons, the peaceful atmosphere that radiates from weathered walls like warmth from a banked fire. The fisherman and his wife welcome these brief encounters with strangers, offering water from their well to thirsty walkers, directions to those who have lost their way, sometimes a place by their fire. When storms drive travelers to seek shelter, they share their abundance freely, understanding that generosity multiplies blessings rather than diminishing them. Let your shoulders drop. Feel yourself becoming part of this generous spirit, this understanding that wealth increases when it flows freely between open hands. Years pass like waves, each one distinct, yet part of the same and endless ocean. The fisherman's hair grows gray as salt spray, his hands more weathered but still steady on the oars. His wife's face shows the gentle lines that come from smiling into sea winds, her movements softer but still sure as she tends their simple home. They grow old together with the same grace they brought to growing young together, each day accepted as a gift rather than counted as a loss. Their cottage ages too, its wooden walls silvering further under the constant caress of salt air, its roof settling into curves that follow the natural contours of wind and weather. But the glow from their windows never dims. The lamp burns as steadily as ever, and the sea glass continues to pulse with gentle warmth on the sill, where it has lived for so many seasons. Feel your eyes grow heavy. Let yourself drift into this long perspective, where individual days blend into the larger pattern of a life well lived. The village changes around them as villages do. New families arrive. Old friends pass on to whatever shore lies beyond the horizon. Children grow up and move away, or stay to take their parents' places in boats and shops and gardens. But the cottage by the sea remains constant, a fixed point in the gentle flux of coastal life, a reminder that some things endure because they are built on foundations deeper than stone or timber. The fisherman's nets grow heavy sometimes with the day's catch, sometimes hold only enough for their own table, but his contentment never varies with the size of the haul. He has learned that the sea gives what it chooses to give, and what it gives is always exactly what is needed. If not for his own table, then for the neighbor who happens to stop by, just when the fish are being cleaned. If not for today's hunger, then for tomorrow's generous sharing. His wife's garden produces its own cycles of abundance and scarcity, but her satisfaction blooms constant as perennial flowers. She has discovered that the greatest harvest is not in the gathering, but in the tending, not in the quantities produced, but in the patient daily care that transforms scattered seeds into living beauty. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself understanding that contentment comes not from controlling outcomes, but from appreciating process, not from guaranteeing results, but from embracing whatever each day offers. Sometimes, on particularly calm evenings when the sea lies smooth as polished glass, the fisherman returns to the deep water where he first encountered the magical fish. He does not go seeking more gifts. His life contains abundance beyond measure, but simply to sit quietly on the peaceful water and offer gratitude for what has been received. The fish no longer appears, but its presence fills the evening air, like the scent of flowers carried on offshore breezes. The fisherman understands that the conversation was completed long ago, that the gifts were given and received and transformed into the living texture of daily life. What remains is not the memory of magic, but the continuous unfolding of it, woven so completely into ordinary moments that it becomes indistinguishable from the natural rhythm of grateful living. Listen to the hush of the tide. Let it remind you that the most powerful magic is often the most invisible, the most transformative gifts often the ones that feel like natural grace rather than supernatural intervention. On one such evening, as the fisherman sits in his boat watching the sun paint the water in shades of gold and rose, his wife stands at their cottage window watching the same magnificent display. The glass that was once the fish's gift still glows on the sill beside her, but now it is only one source of light among many. The steady lamp, the gleaming shells, the polished stones, the woman's own face radiant with the peace that comes from a life lived in harmony with its surroundings. She does not think of these as magical objects anymore, but simply as familiar friends, beloved possessions that happen to hold a little more light than usual. The true magic has become invisible, absorbed into the cottage walls, woven into the very fabric of their shared existence, until there is no separation between the enchanted and the everyday. Let the quiet carry you. Feel yourself understanding that this is how all profound transformations complete themselves, not in dramatic revelation, but in seamless integration, not in obvious difference, but in enhanced appreciation of what always was. Their neighbors have long since stopped wondering why the cottage seems so peaceful, why visitors always leave refreshed, why the fisherman's nets seem blessed and his wife's garden thrives despite the challenging conditions. These things have become simply part of the natural order, as unremarkable and reliable as the tide's return or the lighthouse's nightly beacon. The fisherman and his wife have become part of the landscape now, as integral to the coastal community as the harbor or the jetty, or the weathered stones that mark ancient boundaries. Children grow up thinking it perfectly natural that their cottage should glow with such welcoming warmth, that their lamp should burn with such steady flame, that their window should offer such expansive views of the endless sea. Float like a leaf on calm water. Feel yourself becoming part of this timeless scene, where human lives and natural rhythms merge into a single peaceful flow. As full darkness settles over the water, the fisherman rows slowly home, guided by the familiar lights of the village and the special glow that marks his own cottage among all the others. His wife meets him at the door, as she always does, her face lit by the lamp that burns behind her, her hands reaching out to help secure the boat for the night. They eat their simple dinner in comfortable silence, speaking only when words carry special meaning, content to let their shared presence communicate what language cannot hold. The lamp illuminates not just their food, but the lifetime of memories accumulated around this small table, the countless meals shared, the quiet conversations that have deepened their understanding of each other and of the world that contains them so gently. Feel the earth holding you. Let yourself rest in the profound peace that comes from being exactly where you belong, living exactly the life that serves not just your own happiness, but the greater harmony of all things. After dinner, they sit together by the window, watching the moon rise over water that reflects its light in a million scattered diamonds. The fisherman's wife holds the sea glass in her cupped palms, feeling its warmth pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, while her husband's hands rest on the worn wood of the windowsill, connecting him to all the evenings he has spent in this same spot, appreciating this same eternal view. They do not speak of the past or future, but rest completely in the present moment, which contains all times and all possibilities in its perfect embrace. The lighthouse beam sweeps past their window every few minutes, a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, there are always guides for those who know how to watch for them. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. Feel yourself settling into the same deep peace, the same complete presence to the gifts that surround you in every moment. Eventually, they prepare for bed with the same gentle routine they have followed for countless nights, each task performed with the reverence that comes from understanding that ordinary actions become sacred when infused with love and attention. The fisherman banks the fire while his wife extinguishes the lamp. Though the cottage never truly grows dark, the sea glass continues its gentle glow. The embers whisper soft light from the hearth, and the whole building seems to pulse with the accumulated peace of years spent in grateful living. They lie down together beneath quilts that seem to hold not just physical warmth, but the embrace of every peaceful night they have shared, every dream they have dreamed in this small bed surrounded by the eternal conversation between wind and waves. Their breathing gradually synchronizes. Their heartbeats find a common rhythm, and they drift toward sleep like boats carried gently toward harbor by the turning tide. Let your eyes grow heavy. Feel yourself floating on the same peaceful current, supported by the same trust in the natural order that governs both sleep and waking, both the tide's retreat and its inevitable return. outside their cottage. The sea continues its ancient meditation, each wave a prayer spoken in foam and salt spray, each tide cycle a reminder that what goes out always returns, transformed but somehow eternally the same. The lighthouse beam sweeps its faithful pattern across water that holds the reflection of countless stars, and somewhere in the deep places where sunlight never reaches, fish swim in schools that flash silver as they turn, following currents older than memory toward destinations known only to the sea itself. The cottage stands peaceful in the moonlight, its windows glowing softly, its weathered walls holding safe the sleep of two people who have learned the secret of abundance, that it comes not from accumulation, but from appreciation, not from having more, but from needing less, not from changing the world, but from seeing clearly the beauty and magic that surround grateful hearts in every moment of every ordinary, extraordinary day. Float like a leaf on calm water. Let yourself be carried into the same peaceful sleep, surrounded by the same protective love, held by the same eternal embrace that cradles all who have learned to rest completely in the generous arms of a world that offers abundance to those who know how to receive it with open hands and grateful hearts. Sleep now. Let the tide